So I kept quiet. But large sums of money have been coming into our party. At every election, internal, external, the large sums come. Find people, our own delegates who come from up country, they are accommodated in hotels, not by the party, but by candidates. Accommodated in hotels, given money, and so once you take that path, you know you are on the path of death as an organization and the capital. And we have been traveling along that path for some time now. And we've warned. So, F.D.C., just like the other parties, I believe, has failed to adopt itself to the state capture that we face. And regardless of who is leading it, if you fail to adopt, you will get the consequences. Whose purpose, I don't need to overemphasize, is among others to capture what the population needs so that they are translated in the manifesto. They should have a system of capturing the views of the people to come into the manifesto through the party structures. They should be the ones to make a plan of how to get candidates at all levels, how to support them, and so on. The campaign bureau must have the one that plans everything around the election. F.D.C. has not had a campaign bureau. And so we were going to a campaign without a plan, without a candidate, without even the bureau that would be doing that. Now, you are already set for trouble. You have set yourself for trouble, you know? And so when they came to start putting pressure on me to become a candidate, I told them, no, there is no way I'm going to be a candidate. Then they said, okay, if you are not going to be a candidate, at least to raise money for us. But you even then raise it for who? There is no face of the election. So, yes, it's true, they asked me to help in raising funds, but I told them, and some of those who were pressurizing me are people who, again, we had been working with closely in my own election. So even where we would raise money in my own election, they knew. But as I have said, you know, even those fundraisers need to know whom they are fundraising. So the election was, the time was ticking, the election was coming. There were, of course, all other challenges, including the COVID challenges and so on. And there was this crisis, a crisis in which Amuriat eventually emerged as a candidate. And then, as that, in that melee of challenges, is where this whole thing that has been now, of course, liberally discussed in the public as dirty money, that's where it cropped up. And, you know, I became aware of it, discussed it with our close leaders. They were not even happy that I was discussing it, because they said, you were a party president, nobody asked you where money came from. Why are you now coming to us? And having realized that there was this attitude, I backed off because obviously it would, if it burst into the public like it has done, it would have been terrible for all our candidates and many other people who are not even anywhere related to the problem. So I backed off and the election went, having gotten Amuriat as a compromise to step in and battle it out. He set up a campaign bureau that was led by Chairman Mirigwa and many other members. Shortly thereafter, I heard that the Secretary General had disbanded it. We shall not use this campaign bureau. And Amuriat seemed capable of resolving those challenges. Because a presidential campaign is not like a parliamentary presidential campaign. You are campaigning in the entire country. And sometimes for a much shorter time than those who have smaller constituencies. In fact, those who have smaller constituencies, some of them have 6 months in which to campaign. But for the presidential, you have at most 2-3 months. I think the longest we have had has been close to 3 months, 90 days. But we have 100, we are now I think near 150 districts. So you'll be campaigning in 2 districts in 1 day. And you will never go back until the end of the campaign. So you need a mechanism that will keep your campaign alive all over the country and eventually take charge of the voting itself. And knowing, having been through this experience, I realized that a combination of that, of those weaknesses which were now administrative, and these other challenges of what I considered some kind of repression, I decided also not to engage myself in to run around campaigning in the country, and especially considering that it was also hazardous with the COVID thing. I am not a young man now, I am an old man, so exposing myself to all those dangers, knowing that the result is not there. I said, no, let these people fight out. So that's where the specific problems have come. Because that problem which I backed off before the election, after the election, I wanted it now engaged with. I thought it was important that we engage with it. And we set up a team to have more discussions on it, on that suspicious hand that I was worried about. And we had several meetings because eventually those we were tasking to give us information eventually turned on us and said, but who are you in the party you? Are you an organ of the party? You are asking for all this as who? And it's true, I have no role in the party. I am not in NEC, I am not in the National Council, I am not in the Delegates Conference, I am not in the working committee. So I was only asking as simply an interested party member. But they said, no, you have no locus. and so was stranded. That's why when I was given an opportunity to talk to the leaders of the party in a national council meeting, I was invited to give a keynote speech to the national council about some topic. And after giving my speech, I asked the chair if the chair could allow me to explain to the leaders who were assembled why I did not become active in the 2021 elections. Because that had now been turned over its head. A campaign was going on, how I am the one who led to the failure of the election. I didn't campaign for Amuria. In fact, I am selfish. They supported me. I refused to support them. In fact, I am trying to fail the leaders from the east. I'm undermining leaders from eastern Uganda. So the tribal element crept in, and I could see it was heading in a dangerous direction. So I thought it was incumbent on me now to give some information to the members of the National Council, and that's what I did in the National Council, the last National Council of F.D.C. I told them pretty much what I have told you. And from there, quite evidently, some kind of a war broke out. But the National Council, having heard, because Nandala of course replied to what I say in the National Council, and I was not accusing Nandala as a person. This whole thing has now been branded like it's a Besigye Nandala duel. There was nothing like that. It was the party leadership as a whole that I was engaging over what had happened in the party. It was not specific to Nandala, but Nandala chose to reply at that National Council meeting, and the National Council decided, in its wisdom, that there should be set up a committee of elders to now investigate this matter thoroughly, try to reconcile all of us who were having issues in those matters, so that the party can once again move smoothly. It took some time for that committee to be appointed, and before the committee could be appointed, the mobilization against me was in progress, intensifying. But I was not very bothered. Eventually, the committee was appointed by the party president. He asked me whether the people he had appointed, I am fine with them. I said, I have no problem with them, provided they get what will help the party. And I appeared before the committee. But while the committee was sitting, the committee they themselves appointed was sitting. They set up on a campaign across the country. They called leaders of all the districts of Busoga and started discussing what the committee they set up was supposed to handle. They started showing how Besigye is the problem, how he has received money, he never counts, how he has, I don't know, done what, how he's a tribalist, he doesn't want people from the east, and so on and so forth. From Busoga, they went to Mbale and held a meeting with all the districts of the other east. Then they went to Lango and held a meeting with the districts of Lango, went to Acholi, In the meantime, there are committees here seated In fact, in one of the meetings that was in Musoga, the chair of the committee was also invited there. And that has eventually created a problem even within the committee. So, I think all that is possibly what culminated in some of our members deciding to talk amongst themselves about how to save the party. The ones who were convened by Honorable Semuju. I think now, and they are working on their own. I am not involved with them, but I think they considered that where things had reached, they should invite leaders of the party and see how to rescue the party. The other contradiction that is there is, of course, about the election, because the F.D.C elects its leaders every 5 years. The last election was supposed to be in 2020. That's when the term of all our leaders expired, 2020. But when it expired, the party thought that it was inopportune to hold elections then because of the COVID pandemic. And so they invited the National Council to extend the life of the leaders in office by another 3 years, which 3 years are expiring this year. So there is supposed to be an internal election renewing the entire leadership of the party this year. That has become another point of contention, and I am not really familiar with all the details there. Maybe you should interrogate them and the other members of the party. But I know that there has been controversy over the management of that election. With the Electoral Commission especially, just like happens in all areas where capture happens, the Electoral Commission seems to be accused by some members or leaders of the party that the Electoral Commission is captured and acting in a manner that cannot lead to an acceptable outcome. There have also been some other contradictions, I think, relating to that, the impending elections. So there is a controversy. Some people say next and took a decision to stay elections and first do certain political things, stay while doing certain political things. Neither was the election stayed, nor were those things undertaken. So there are issues to do with the electoral process. And in the meantime, the National Council, which set up that Elders Committee, is supposed to now sit on the 28th of this month. It will reconvene to sit on the 28th of this month. And but in the meantime, the elections, while that controversy has not been resolved, which the National Executive, I think, was advising that they should first resolve these controversies so that they go into the election in a harmonious way. The other members or leaders of the party are saying, no, we don't care about all that. We shall go on with the elections, whether you like it or not, and whether there is National Council, whether NEC says what, we shall go on. So there is now clearly, I think, confusion in the organs of the party. That is what I can see in terms of specifics and my role in them. Where do we go from here? Where does F.D.C go from here? I think without the leaders stepping back and taking a breath, calm down, the crisis will definitely escalate, and I can't predict where the party will end, but quite likely where others have ended. That's a likely trajectory. Because you see, what happens is, once people who are in the party now start acting against others, and others seek to resist them and so on, quite often those who are in power tend to revert to the state to protect them against their members. And I think that is likely a likely trajectory. If leaders don't step back and reflect on whether that's where they want F.D.C. I think it's important that leaders stop back, because there is now like an outright war. It's still a war of words, but it can degenerate even into a physical confrontation, that, like we have seen indeed outside headquarters of other parties. In fact, I hear that now to enter F.D.C. headquarters, you need to be screened in some ways, the kanyamas and the things like that. So that escalation is likely to continue if leaders don't step back, take a breath, and reconsider what all this means. And especially to try and resolve the contradictions which are there, which are real. But more especially, since this is also, and this is why this is very dangerous, because it is happening in an election year, internal election year. So, even before the election starts, you are at war. There is no way the managers of the elections are suspected to be uneven-handed. And that spells a disaster. So I think it is important that all these grandstanding elections must continue, whatever should be avoided. I think time should be created by the party leaders to resolve these contradictions, to have a credible process, a process in which all members are confident. These other issues can even play themselves out in the elections, and maybe there will be no way of stopping that. But that's sometimes what elections resolve. They resolve contradictions, provided the outcome will be respected by all. Because if they are not, then you are heading for a rupture. That is the unfortunate trajectory they end up. So I hope that there will be sense prevailing to hold to the electoral processes at least until the next national council, where the controversies that had been discussed by them, and they appointed a committee, can then engage with that and engage with the other issues that are causing controversies, and hopefully get a solution out of it. But to wind up, let's interrogate, and for the political parties, I would like to interrogate why Museveni would want to fund his opponents. Because one can see it as a contradiction in terms. Why should I give you money when you are going to operate against me? Museveni knows that there is no power in parliament. He doesn't care whether you are in fact, he wants us to be in parliament to legitimize government. Say, but you also win elections. You are also there. Now, why do you complain when you are defeated? You are also there. So he doesn't really, he actually wants us to be in parliament, provided we don't seek to remove him, provided we are good opposition. If we are good opposition, he has no problem with us being in parliament. He give us money so that we are there, so that we are also in the local areas. There is some legitimization it creates, that there is opposition in Uganda. There is, you know, and without that money, actually, opposition indeed, even as some kind of flowers may cease, because you may even fail to get people to be nominated. So he wants to fund an impotent opposition. Secondly, he does not want these opposition groups to link up. The linking up of opposition groups is something that he does not want to see. Whichever, the opposition groups must fight each other, actually, must be at war with each other. And he's behind the creation of feuds between opposition groups. And part of that money is intended to sustain the separation of political parties that are in captivity. They should not link up. Now, if we don't do that, we will never get out of captivity. So that's why, for me, even now, yes, I'm affected by what is going on in F.D.C. because it has been a strong party with a strong mission of liberation. So if it is weakened, certainly we suffer. But at the end of the day, what will liberate Uganda is to have a linkage of all those who are in captivity, regardless of their parties. We must get together and not focus on his election, but focus on a resistance struggle to remove him. So he's opposed to both. He is opposed to any resistance struggle outside the elections. He wants just, if you are talking about elections, you are his friend. Why? Because election is the killing ground. The election is a prepared killing ground, which will never remove it. He knows resistance, activism, defiance has removed dictators, many, including here in Africa. So Museveni fears two things: fighting him outside the elections, whether with guns or without guns. That's his focus. So he pays money to the politicals not to engage in fighting him outside the elections and in not getting together to build a strong popular force that will achieve that. So it's up to us. And that's where I end this. Sorry, it has been long, I think, longer than I expected. And for that reason, I think I shouldn't get into the Uganda. If you have questions, you can ask questions in Uganda and I can answer you in Uganda.
Thank you so much. Chibuzo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Doctor,
money and not some of the past leaders. We want to know what is the truth about that. And then try to set things which have been known to the policies of F.D.C and actually maybe a possible company. Like, you know, what is the truth about that massacre?
Well, first of all, regarding the details of
Kizza
money,
caucus.
as I pointed out, this is a matter over which there has been a committee trying to get details of all the allegations and accusations here and there. I understand that committee has written a report, and I think it's unfair for me to repeat what I told the committee before that report is reviewed. Once the committee report has been reviewed, I will definitely, regardless of what it says, I may give you more information on that. But I wouldn't like to join my colleagues in abusing the committee they set up. Secondly, he asked me two questions. And the second one I think is important. The tribal question. I told you about the state capture. Part of what is used in state capture is divide and rule. The policy of divide and rule. Whenever a small group of people captures many people, it does not want the many people to remain united, because then they will easily remove the small group. So the small group undertakes a policy to chop up the big group and possibly to put them in collision with each other, so that they don't concentrate on one causing the trouble for all of them. So this policy of divide and rule was there even in the colonial time. It was in fact that this word divide and rule was coined in the colonial time. Museveni has perfected the art of divide and rule. When he captured Uganda and northern Uganda resisted him, he now chose to turn southern Uganda against the north. And if any of you remembers the election of 1996, his first election, he got the national paper then and put on its front page scarves. It was covered, the whole front page was covered by scarves. And the message was, the people in the north are killers. They are the ones who are responsible for these scarves. I am your protector against the killers. So he divided Uganda against the south that was killed by the north. And he's the protector of the south. When I came to contest in 2001, he said I had betrayed. Even now he talks about my betrayal. Sometimes he says, how could he come out when we were still busy fighting God? That's exactly what he means. How does me, who was a member of NRM, who is a member of Southern Uganda, now want to challenge and remove the protector of Southern Uganda? And you will remember, after that election, I was prosecuted in court for being a supporter and member, actually, of the Konye War. I was prosecuted in court that I was part of the Konye War. You remember the whole story of Opoka? James Opoka? They were linking me to coin. In the trial, which was in the High Court here, they brought witnesses to testify that I was actively working with coin. They brought a girl called Jennifer Aliemo. That is the girl who used to come to court with a huge headgear, where eventually we discovered they were headphones, where they were telling her what to say. Whenever she was asked a question, they would communicate. You say this through the headgear. Jennifer Ariemo, I don't know where she is now. She said I had held meetings with her, sent her, I think even given her money to take to court. They brought in court a former member of Konye's army called Kamuduru. Kamuduru had just been given amnesty by Museveni, and he was now brought to court to testify against me as having been aware that I am working with them. Kamuduru was here in court. I don't know where he is now, you know? So, anybody who opposed then was part of the killers. So, they branded me part of coin. But we resisted and kept on mobilizing. When he realized that the South had been now mobilizing, his lies could no longer hold. They now changed the story. And that is using the capture of the media and propaganda. They now say that Besigye actually works with Museveni. In fact, he is the same with Museveni. He was deceiving the North. He was deceiving the others. He is actually a friend and worker with Museveni. And now Museveni became the friend of the North and the East. And he said, no, now we must end all these problems in the North. He went there to make roads, to do what? Because things had changed where? In the South. Now they know they are no longer killers. So now they are his friends. That's why now he has shifted patronage from the South, because he has been rejected in the South. So he has shifted patronage to where? To the North. That's why now you find the vice president is from Teso, where Besigye received the greatest support. Whenever I'm in all these areas, and it's not a joke, whenever I'm in Lango, Acholi, West Nile, Teso, I always tell those people there that this is the place I feel most at home. Why? Because when I was actually being rejected in the South, they indeed embraced me and gave me second support and everything. And that's where, even today, whenever I am there, I feel at home. But now, because they want to brand a different brand, now their friend is Museveni. And that's where he's now appointing people from Teso. So the chief justice, the vice president is Teso, the speaker Teso, Minister of Foreign Affairs Teso, and others. These or even in the army, those Erwerus coming up. The other one of disaster preparedness and others, you know, the IGP and so on. Now it was focusing the patronage to the North. The Chief Justice from the North. Of course, previously the Speaker Olanya was from the North, and so on. So now That is how even the Maus have been consumed. Now in the north, so patronage is now in the north. And so what is emerging that I am now I am the one against the East. I will also hear, I'm sure that I am now the one against the North. Because now it is him who is their friend because he has been ejected from the South whom he was protecting. The people he was protecting in Buganda, so he has run across the river now. And now portraying the people in the South as the ones who are, I think soon they will become the killers of the North. And he will be the protector of the North against the South. So this is a divide and rule. And when you hear somebody bring, and it's very painful, especially in F.D.C, for people, because we thought that this is really a revolutionary party with one Uganda, one people. That is what makes us. So to start infusing tribes is extremely shameful. Because if I was against the East, I am accused of having brought Amriat against Muntu. Where was Muntu coming from? And where was Amriat coming from? So why would I then fight Muntu and the other one? Of course, there have been many now accusations. Everything that can be thrown on me is being thrown on me. But I think the population will eventually get a Kasengeja. And of course, I have been accused by the Honorable Nandala now publicly that I didn't support him when he contested against General Mungu. So I don't know whether I have heard it going around, and it is true. I can confirm that I didn't support Nandala. I didn't. I'm not the one to steal lies. I didn't certainly support Muntu. Because you see, it would have been, in my view, wrong. I was the party president. I was the one who handed over the winner. So what is being suggested is that I should have actively participated in choosing my successor. Wouldn't that divide the party then? Because I was the president for everybody. I was the president for everybody. So why should I now say these ones are not mine? I will campaign for Nandala. Muntu is not, I am not his president. So I took a deliberate decision not to campaign for Muntu or for Nandala. And I had contested with Muntu. Previously, I had contested with Muntu. So actually, I was expected to fight Muntu because he had been my opponent. But I didn't. And that is my crime. To express open support, that I didn't express support that would help Nandala win. And there are many, many other accusations, but they will be sorted out.
Yakaya.
Abamu bakiteekako nti ekizibu kya F.D.C. ebizibu obadde obiraba naye ebimu nga ekimu kyoyogeddeko waliwo obuseete obwajja abamu ne bakyongerako nti waliwo era n'emmotoka pikapu ezajjirako obuseete obwo abamu ku bammemba abanene ne bazifuna ekyo bammemba abawansi mu F.D.C bagwamu amaanyi basigala nga bagamba mwamanya ensonga ezo mutazongerako osanga olwaleero ekisajjusa mugejjanga buti kyokubiri mu kiseera we wabeerera nga pate president okusimba emirandira gy'ekibiina okugira wansi kwali osanga kati ge malibu agalimu ebizibu bye tulaba olwaleero bikwira ddala mabega mo ku bisanja byo kyenjagala okubiranako.
Okay, Bate? Well, I think the ones who want to answer in Uganda will ask in Uganda.
Yes.
I think that those need to separate answers.
Yes, Dr. Nkula ne NPP nawe okusookera ddala twagala tukikome mu bulambu ddala ekibiina ekya F.D.C kyafuna ssente okuva eri President Museveni kaliwo akabiri Africa nga yakwasika ekibiina ekitendera then n'ekirala obanga wakimanyako olina kyogonyeko nga kiraga nti waliwo some kind of black okuva eri abakulembeze abali mu kiseera ekyo nga bagamba nti nga bwe wazifuna wali tosobola kubanga ozibisibozinga then F.D.C eyolekedde ki naddala mu bino ebigenda mu maaso kubanga kakati waliwo embeera
Honorable.
Doctor, right from the ongoing pressure from Najana Nkumbi, the Honorable Nandela says that you were handed 300 million shillings for party agents during the elections, and you returned that money in installments, and there is a date up to now. If you could respond to that, please.
I guess those are all. So, first of all, why saying that I speak out quickly about the problems that we are emerging in the past. It really, you have to understand. I have two issues. First of all, I was the party leader and stepped down, and other leaders were appointed or elected. There is a danger, and in fact I have been very, very unfairly accused by many people that I still breathe behind the necks of those who are now running the party. And it can really happen to keep on interfering with the management of the party as if you want your own ideas to continue in the leadership of the party when you are no longer leader. So I have really attempted to not engage myself in the running of the party or trying to, comment and influence what goes on. So that leaders, take charge of their parties. occasionally, and it is only very occasionally, when I may meet a leader to comment about anything in the party. I have been interacting with them, but not on party matters. We've been interacting maybe on how they could help in the broad struggle that we are engaged in, the resistance struggle, but not on party matters. And I believe they can testify on that. Never agree. But secondly, even where you think you should be involved, the nature of the involvement is important. Because you must first of all exhaust the internal mechanisms of resolving any contradiction, for that contradiction to go to a wider membership of the party. And as I have told you, that is in this particular regard, that has been my approach. When I first got the issues, I discussed them with those directly concerned with it and nobody else. In fact, hardly anyone got to know about this until when I talked to the wider leadership in the National Council. It's also a small organ, it consists of district leaders. But that is now, I had now escalated it to a higher number of people to know about it. So I think it's, and I have told you that before the National Council, we did not, to answer, I think it was Canary who was asking, was it Canary who was asking why now? Yes, it has not been now. It started in 2021. It has taken time. We have had meetings, and getting people to meet is not easy. So you get meetings, spend 2 months maybe before you get another meeting. But we haven't started now, not at all. This is the culmination of it. And so when you eventually can't fail to handle something, then you take it to involve more people, until you go to the public. By the way, even when we were breaking with NRM in the 80s and 90s, especially 90s, that's exactly what happened. We had many meetings, internal meetings, but they were not resolving anything. We escalated it to have more people involved. Still nothing worked until it went to the public. You know? Structures. I hope you all still remember that I was a party leader for 7 years. Oh, sorry. Obuuzizza lwaki tetwazimba structures z'ekibiina viira ddala ku mitendera egya wansi egy'oku byalo n'okutuuka waggulu ezandibadde oba oli awo ziyamba mu kugonjoola ebizibu bino. Nafuuka party leader mu 2005 nga kuggwako nga naakadda kuva e South Africa. Of course, mukimanyi nti oluvannyuma ayitira mu makomera area. Naye amakomera n'emisango egyo gyekubiddemu netutandika okuzimba structure buto. Waali wazimbibwa structure naye netuzimba structure buto okuviira ddala wansi ku buli kyalo okuviira ddala waggulu. Era y'ensonga lwaki twafuna akalulu akalala naate ku nga 29. So akasooka kaali 25, akokubiri kaali 29 nga twali tuzimbye kuviira ddala wansi, kati 29 nga tulina okufuna akalulako ku ntikko. Emyaka 5 nga tegiraggwa So ne taamu yange eyasooka nagikutulamu olw'okwagala okuzimba structure etuuke ku ntikko. Era ekalulu ke nasooka okuvuganya n'ekinoomuntu aka 2012 emyaka 3 nga akalulu ako kawedde nalekulira kuva mu kibiina mu bukulembeze bw'ekibiina. Kuva lwe nalekulira okuva mu bukulembeze gye n'omuntu yaddamu n'azimba structure. Jjukira eyali kampeyini ye enkulu nga agamba tulina okuzimba structure ez'amaanyi, n'addamu n'azimba structure kuva wansi kutuuka waggulu. Era structure gye n'omuntu gye yavuganyizaamu ne Honorable Nandala structure gye n'omuntu gye yavuganyizaamu ne Nandala ye structure gye nalekawo. Structure gye nalekawo ye yamulonda, n'alonda structure endala ye yamuggyawo. Kubanga abantu abamu bagamba nti nze nali mukulu kwe olw'okumuggyawo. Nze structure gye nalekawo ye yamulonda, n'azimba structure endala n'emugyawo. N'olwekyo ekibiina kizize kizimba ki structures. Era wandibadde nga wazimbibwa endala 2019 yeyo eyayisibwa bubi COVID. So structure nga kati ekyaliwo yeyo gye n'omuntu gye yakola gye yazimba. So mujjukire nze kati okunvunaana ku bitambula mu F.D.C tekiba kya bwenkanya, kubanga nze nakulembera F.D.C asooka, era ne tugezaako okuzimba ekintu ekipya ekitaaliwo. Ne tukizimbira myaka 7 gyokka. Nze nakulembera F.D.C myaka 7. Kuva lwe nava mu bukulembeze kati wayiseewo emyaka 12 ndowooza, 12 oba 12 ndowooza kuva lwe navamu. So mmaze emyaka ate wayiseewo abakulembeze banjawulo kati 2. So influence yange mu kibiina tesobola kubanga yeeyo gye nalekawo. Waliwo ebintu birala bingi, buli omu azimbye structure ye biki, naye ebizibu bino tebiva mu butazimbibwa structure. Ndowooza biva mu structure ngeri ki gye zikozesebwa obukulembeze. I think the problem is the leadership. So is still what? If was that in Uganda? So ekyo nkimanyi naye kino ekya parties oba zikyalina omugaso. Parties zikyalina omugaso, naye mugaso gwazo si gwe mugaso ogw'olubeerera bwe zandibadde zikola mu biseera ebya obwenkanya, mu biseera mwe muli obwenkanya mu ggwanga. Kubanga bwe wabeerawo obwenkanya mu ggwanga n'enkola eya demokulasiya, ebibiina byandibadde bitegeka ngeri ky'eggwanga gye likulemberwamu n'abanaalikulembera, bwe gwandibadde mulimu gw'ebibiina omu. Naye mu buwambe mwe tuli, kyenva ngamba nti ebibiina bwe biteekyuse munda mu byo ne bisobola okugenda mu maaso nga biina bye bikola wakati mu buwambe, bijja kusaanawo byokka, bijja kusaanawo. naye kikyasoboka ebibiina bino okwekyusa munda ne byetegeka mu ngeri endala etasobozesa obulabe bwe byolekedde kati okubikolako obulabe